Hello everyone, my name is Sierra and welcome to Forgotten Recipes. My grandmother loved to cook, my mother loved to cook, and they've passed that down to me. I've never been to culinary school, I am not a professional in any way, I just found a passion in cooking. And I wanted to share it with other people. I always remember growing up, no matter how busy my mother was, I always got a home-cooked meal. Of course, there were the nights that we went out to eat or we got pizza, but with the exception of that, I always got a home-cooked meal. So despite being a single mother, working full-time, taking night classes, she still made sure that every night that she was able to, she cooked me a home-cooked meal, and that has always stuck out in my mind as such a special thing that we would sit down together and eat dinner. Now I've decided to call this channel Forgotten Recipes because among my mother and I, plus all the cookbooks that I've inherited through my grandmother and other people, plus subscriptions to cooking magazines, getting recipes out of newspapers and various other places, the recipes have just piled up. Bookcases filled with cookbooks, 4 or 5 different recipe boxes filled, plus stacks of magazines. And every time I go searching through them to find one specific recipe, I always go through and find just recipe after recipe that I keep saying that I want to make but never get around to. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to go through and find those recipes that I've always wanted to make, or just those cookbooks that have been collecting dust for years, and just rediscover them. So I thought I would go through, pick a book or a recipe box or a magazine and randomly pick out one of the recipes in it and make them. Like I said, I love to cook, and I especially love to cook for friends and family, and many a times they'll ask me for the recipe of what I just made them. But most of those times I'm not cooking from a recipe in front of me. It's either something that I've had in my head or something that I've seen a recipe and I remember the basics on how to make it, and I just kind of go from there, so it's not really something that I can write down. So when they try and write it down and they say, oh, how much of that do you add? And I just say, until it looks right. My grandmother was the same way, except she kept everything in her head, so she would never ever have anything written down. So we asked her to make our favorite dishes, and we would sit there and watch her and try to write down what she did and how much she put in, but everything was a guesstimate. So now all the recipes we have of her are just a list of ingredients, and we just kind of have to play it by ear. So now with going through all these recipes, I thought I can write down any steps that I modify right on the recipe instead of thinking, what did I just do? And nothing is off limits. Whatever recipe comes up, whether it be a salad or a steak or fish, cooking, baking, even no-bake recipes, dessert, I love all food. Like I said, I'm not a professional chef. I'm just a single mom who loves to cook, and luckily I have a toddler who will try almost anything I put in front of her. And hopefully try to expand some of your food horizons as well. Try to get your palate to experience new foods, the recipes that you normally wouldn't have tried. Maybe anybody can cook, anybody can bake. So hopefully you will learn about new foods, new cooking techniques. So hopefully you will join me in our cooking adventure of Forgotten Recipes. I'll see you next time.